This episode is brought to you by Netflix. New players, new games, new rules. Squid Game, The Challenge returns for a gripping second season. 456 contestants from all walks of life, competing in the ultimate test of strategy, alliances, and endurance. For a life-changing prize of $4.56 million. With stakes this high, why make friends when you can make millions? Watch Squid Game, The Challenge Season 2, now playing only on Netflix.
This is a real good story about Bronx and his dad, Ryan, real United Airlines customers.
We were returning home, and one of the flight attendants asked Bronx if he wanted to see the flight deck and meet Captain Andrew.
I got to sit in the driver's seat.
I grew up in an aviation family, and seeing Bronx kind of reminded me of myself when I was that age.
That's Andrew, a real United pilot.
These small interactions can shape a kid's future.
It felt like I was the captain.
Allowing my son to see the flight deck will stick with us forever.
That's how good leads the way.
Buckeye Talk is about to begin. Hey, 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 come on in.
Welcome back to Buckeye Talk. I am Stephen Means. That's Stefan Krajisnik, and that is Andrew Gillis, and we're coming to you from the press box inside of Ross-Ade Stadium after Ohio State's 34-10 win over Purdue to improve to 9-0. Gillis, do you think Ohio State accomplished what it needed to accomplish today?
Considering the circumstances, I think yes. You didn't have Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate was obviously not a go. Ryan Day said that he felt something a little tight in warmups and they just didn't want to push it. Makes sense. I get it. Phillip Daniels didn't play. You were able to rotate, I think, a little bit defensively. Purdue, they had some success, but there really wasn't a ton that they did offensively. So you look at the defense and there's not really any concerns there long term. Offensively, I think they accomplished their goal in the way of Ian Moore has played now. And if you need Ian Moore to play for you in a big spot, you are not asking Ian Moore to come in and say, welcome to the lineup, kid, have fun. Like Stephen brought this up and he was saying, you don't want to find out if Ian Moore can play football against Michigan or in the postseason. You want to find out today because now he can go back, he can get some constructive criticism, he can go work on some things. The same thing applies at receiver with Bryson Rogers and Mylan Graham and that whole group where it's like, hey, Carnell Tate, he was not in the lineup. Okay, Carnell Tate, JJ, something happens, they pull a hammy and they're out for a few plays, not even anything long-term. It's just their helmet pops off and it's 3rd and 4 against Indiana in a Big Ten title game and you need them to come in. You've got these guys reps. So I think they accomplished what they needed to accomplish for today. Long-term, there are still some things, and we'll get into those there. Long-term, there are still some issues that they need to work out and they need to figure.
Yeah, I agree. I wrote about this at the buzzer too. Like, it helped Austin Servold last year to start playoff games because he had played left guard for you those first 2 games, right? Going into the season where Donovan Jackson was out, right? So obviously you knock on wood and you hope you don't need it. But if this Purdue game was going to teach you anything, it was going to teach you depth, right? And instead of seeing Ian Moore in with the backups in the fourth quarter, we got to see him play, significant snaps early on. We saw with Ethan Onyanyawa too. Yeah. He had a snap. I think it was the drive right before half that's we saw him playing some right tackle, right? So like Ohio State has had guys that have, came kind of through the rotation today that you normally wouldn't see in those situations. Like we saw Mylan Graham on the opening drive of the game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Get some important reps. I think Nate Roberts too, like we talk about him and kind of this fullback experiment with him, but we also saw him like play a good amount at tight end, which is like still important for his development because I think Ohio State still views him as someone who can be a tight end for them down the road. I mean, you look beyond the season, what does that room look like? Are we, Max Blair is draft eligible. Will Kazmarek, if I'm not mistaken, this is his last year of eligibility. So it's like it's important for Nate Roberts to continue developing. I think we even saw Lincoln Kenols get an important rep there, kind of the Lincoln Kenols package. I was wrong. I said we probably wouldn't see the Lincoln Kenols package again this year. And we actually did see it.
Immediately.
Yeah. So this is not necessarily what I thought they needed to accomplish coming into the game. But when new information was presented and we saw that Phillip Daniels wasn't going to play, then we later find out that Carnell Tate's not playing. Like when all that information was presented, you kind of change what your expectation is. And I think this was what I wrote is like, they're going to review the film, and whether it's good, whether it's bad, you're going to learn something, right? If you watch the film and you say, man, Gabe Van Sickle really didn't look that good. Okay, then that reaffirms to you that Josh Padilla is the guy who should push for that starting job with Tigger Sabola. If you watch the film and you say, man, Bryson Rogers looked really good. Okay, if you need to rotate him, then you trust him to come in and rotate when necessary. So I think you walk out of this and say, I didn't know that this was what this team was going to necessarily use this game for, but it's kind of what they got out of it, and I think you should be happy with that.
That was a lot of words to say Ohio State practiced on Saturday.
Yes. And Ryan Day did a nice job of saying not that post.
Of saying they practiced without outright saying. Because I think the way the question was preferenced was, I know you have a lot of respect for Barry Odom. Because that's the thing, right? If you say we're using this game as a practice, it sounds like you're being disrespectful to your opponent. But that's not what you're doing. It's just when you can pick your score, like Ohio State can, like they have controlled all 9 games they've played in, and all but one of those games they've won by 3 or more scores, right? And quite frankly, Ryan Day walked up to the podium after the Texas game and said, yeah, we probably didn't need to treat Julian like that. They probably could have won that game by 3 or more scores. But this is like the life of watching Ohio State play football, is there's a professionalism to it of we're going to work things out. And if that means that Isaiah West misses a pass pro, but it's a learning opportunity, then you're going to do that. If that means that when everybody's holding their breath thinking Ohio State's going to cover, and then here comes Purdue on the back door because Leroy Roker got beat in coverage, but that's a moment for Leroy to learn from on film on Monday, then they're going to do that. If that means that Nate Roberts is going to play fullback, but also play inline tight end, but also play wide tight end, then they're going to do that. It felt like you blinked and there was a new personnel on the field. You blinked again and there was another new personnel on the field. How much jumbo package did we see today, Andrew? And it's, I think as a fan, I feel like we've been saying the same thing for 6 weeks. If you are a fan, it's not always a great viewing experience watching Ohio State feel like it's fighting against itself, but it's not fighting against itself. It's learning about itself.
What's funny too is right before you started, Andrew, we were leaving the press box and we were watching to make sure Purdue wasn't going to call timeout on the last drive. Like, was Ohio State simply just going to run out the clock, or was Purdue going to try to do something here? And literally, Ohio State runs the ball. Purdue doesn't take a timeout. We're like, all right, the clock's go out the tick. And Ohio State rotates inside. And these Steven are like, they're still rotating.
Today very much felt like a controlled burn in the way of like, let's put some guys up to the test and see if they can, come out clean on the other side. We saw Isaiah West get absolutely obliterated in pass pro. But like, I don't know how many pass pro reps he's gotten this year. And I think that's a good moment to be like, let's see how you could do. He got blown up and you go, okay, this is something to work on. We're also probably not going to do this a lot, right? Like with all the rotations, with all of that, I think there were some moments that you saw really strong, hey, we can work from this moments. I think there were some moments where it was not good. Like there was a play where Gabe Van Sickle just completely whiffed. I think it was one where they pulled him out as like a personal protector for Sand on a rollout. Gabe Van Sickle pulls and just completely missed. And that's not a great rep, but it's something you would want to learn from. So it's like, did it always look clean? No, certainly not today. They had the red zone kind of problems, which we can touch on a little bit. They had a lot going on. It felt like one of those days that Stefan and Steven, you were talking about it, where it's like Ryan Day was very diplomatic about, saying, hey, we're not going to treat this like a game. We're not going to treat this like a scrimmage. Ryan Day didn't come out and say that, but they did do a lot to let you know that they were experimenting. It's like, you guys have ever been to a wedding and, there's a bunch of people walking around, that work there and they have all the hors d'oeuvres and there's like 6 different plates of stuff. You know what you're going to do? Probably going to have some of that, some of that, some of that, some of that. And you're going to see what tastes good. And then you're going to say, those meatballs were really good. I'm going to go back for some more. And that's probably what's going to happen with certain things that Ohio State evaluates. And I think in real time, there are certain things you can look at and say, I didn't really like that too much. There are certain things you can look at. Like, for example, one of the things that I had been kind of railing against in the press box was I think the Nate Roberts stuff has probably got to simmer down, if not outright end. Like, that is an hors d'oeuvre that I don't like from Ohio State. I think they tip their pitches when he comes out on the field. I think, Nate Roberts comes out and it is like, okay, well, they're going to run the ball. It was something like, I think he had 79 snaps coming into today. and 63 of them were run blocking snaps. Like, they are very clearly showing what they're going to do when he's on the field. I don't necessarily think he's a great fullback as it stands right now. That's one of those things where it's like, Ohio State's been trying something. I don't know if they're going to go back to it a ton as important games start to come up here after, UCLA and Rutgers, frankly, 2 more controlled burns. So there's some things you like. I think, you see some flashes here and there. There are some things that you say, you know what, maybe we just don't have to go back to this.
I just made a face while Andrew was talking.
I was a professional during that. I hung in.
We have the Oregon-Iowa game up when we're trying to watch that while we're also doing this podcast, because obviously the Oregon-Iowa game it does matter in terms of the Big Ten standings and whatnot. And the reason why I did that is because, Stefan, you have been hearing me complain about Ohio State running I formation from the 26-yard line for 9 games now. I am going to stop doing that. I want to apologize to the I formation because I just watched Oregon try to do that, and Dante Moore tripped over his own feet coming out of the snap. So I apologize, Ohio State. Continue to do whatever you're doing here. But even to the Nate Roberts point, I was walking with Ryan after he got done, and we were talking about the Nate Roberts thing. They don't view it as, okay, this isn't working, we need to be done with it. They view it as, okay, there's promise here, we got to keep working at it, because I think the element with Nate Roberts and using him as the example is he is a true freshman trying to learn a position that's already developmental. On top of that, you're trying to teach him another position to where, quite frankly, most people who play fullback aren't 6'5", 250 pounds. So he's trying to develop both of those 2 skills. They think he has the talent to do so. Do I think they're going to pull it out every single game in the playoff? No, but it needs to be something that's in their back pocket just in case you're in an Oregon situation where you need to get a 3rd and 2 and you pull that out, you got to be able to execute it in those moments. And so if they're going to do that, over the next couple of games here, where again, losing is not a consequence because they control games, fine. But also they have shown us, whether it was Penn State, really just the Penn State game, like they've shown us when it's time to pull out the offense they're really going to do, they'll pull out the offense that they're really going to do. So I think pairing this game with what they did against Penn State, they know what their bread and butter is. But if in the other games where they're not playing their bread and butter, they're working through some other things, I think you're just going to have to get used to that, because the other side of that is being Indiana, who has to go full throttle every single week. And then in a game where they actually probably should have gone full throttle, they can't bring it.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about it, too, is like it almost feels like Ryan Day saying that they'll put the foot on the pedal when they need to. It's almost like he knew, like, maybe this is the week to say that, to tell fans, like, and media, like, hey, I'm telling you right now, it might not look great on Saturday. It might not look like what you would expect against Purdue, but, like, this is all strategic. This is all planned out. And, yeah, like you said, we saw against Penn State. We saw even against Wisconsin. When they need to go, they'll go. And I think that's really just what you take away from this, right? Like, Carnell Tate would have played today if they were playing someone better. Like, if the question is them rotating Nate Robertson a lot, it's like, yeah, they're rotating him in a lot because this is a game where they don't even think they need to play Carnell Tate.
Right.
Like that's the way that they view this. And again, it's irritating at times, but it works.
But it's all
working. And I think what we're maybe people even nationally are struggling to grasp is like they're the only team
who can play like this.
Yeah. And like I don't even know how many college football teams in the past have played like this. Like LSU 2019 wasn't like taking their foot off the pedal against certain opponents.
So somebody made a comparison for Indiana and LSU. It's like there's a little LSU thing to them, and they were like, and someone responded to it, and they were like, "You mean the Indiana team that just struggled with a Penn State team who hasn't won a Power 4 game?" And the immediate response was, "Relax. LSU struggled with Auburn that year." That is the point. Of Ohio State doesn't struggle with anybody,
and it's weird. And I feel like we're maybe not this Purdue game just because of how bad Purdue was, but like. You can look at Penn State. You could even look at the game at Wisconsin. The game at Washington. Coming up, Rutgers and Maryland played each other today. I think Rutgers put up like close to 40 points on them. Yeah, so like Rutgers has like a decent offense. Like Maryland has shown at times they can hang in there. And it's like we keep thinking like there's going to be at some point in a game where this Ohio State team like shows some things, maybe trips up a bit, and that just hasn't happened. And it's kind of hard to grasp.
Today might have been signs of trippage. Like they went 3 of 5 in the red zone. They scored 3 touchdowns, but they threw a pick.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were signs of like, hey, this was kind of ugly. And they were winning by 31 points with 2 minutes left. And I know Purdue's not a good football team, but like it's more than just Purdue. right? Like they purposely kind of kept their foot off the gas against Texas, and they won that game 14-7. And I know Texas had the ball with a chance to tie it, but like they have done this kind of all year, and they're still beating teams by multiple scores. Like this was their 8th straight win, I believe, of 3 or more scores. Because the Texas game, they're 9-0. They opened with Texas 14-7. I don't think anything else has been 16 or fewer. Illinois was 18. Penn State was 24. Today was 24. Washington was 18. They have not just like dominated or won these games. They have just beaten these teams without kind of needing that. And even though and that's where I think, Ryan Day, it allows him to get into the press conference like he was last week, where he's like, we can't have that. We can't have this. We can't have that. Because you're still winning these games by 3 touchdowns, but you can keep your foot on the gas in terms of coaching and in terms of kind of mental preparation and keeping guys stable and things like that, because you have that freedom. Like, we've talked about this all the time. Like, what's the score today, hypothetically, if Ohio State entered at 6-2? Probably worse than this, because Ohio State doesn't mess around because they know they can't. They are allowed the freedom to do this, and even with that, they are so talented, they're so well coached, they're so good that they are still walking away with multiple score victories. Even as we can say the red zone's an issue, like it is objectively an issue. Even as we can say, hey man, right guard Tegra Chabot is a problem right now. Like even as you can point to these issues, they are still getting away with winning by 3 scores.
They're ideal wins where you win comfortably, but there's also things to fix.
Yeah. I think the part that I maybe struggle with a little bit, though, is this is the best team in the country, no doubt, but they're certainly not unbeatable. And I don't really know what the way to beat them is. But like you mentioned,
they're not unbeatable. I don't know what it is yet.
I don't know. They're unbeatable, but I don't know how to do it.
Both sides of the ball, which they're like that 2019 LSU team, like their defense was not great, right? But it's just what's interesting to me is that the point that Gillis makes, though, like, I mean, they lost against Oregon last year, and their backs weren't necessarily like against the walls. Like once they beat Penn State, we kind of knew they were in the playoff regardless of what happened.
They lost to Oregon, and it was all steam ahead towards Penn State.
Right, and once they beat Penn State, you kind of had an idea like, okay, even if they lose to Michigan, they're still going to get in. But this is kind of what the game against Purdue last year looked like. What was the final of that game? Like
45-0.
Yeah, so it's like it's not this game wasn't that far up. We're talking about a missed touchdown to Max Clare and an interception in the end zone that that Ohio State could easily scored 48 in this game, 48-3 or 48-10, whatever you want to look at.
They had a touchdown callback on the first play of the game.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's interesting because it has felt like they've in some games played like they did last year, where they just kind of cruise and can pick their score and approach it safely. They just haven't had the losses to go with it, and that's where you kind of look at it and it's like, I don't know who's going to beat them. It's also like last year, the team that beat them, like not talking about Michigan, you're not talking rivalry. The team that beat them, they beat the hell out of them the next time they saw them, right? Yeah. So it's like I can look at the schedule and say, oh, it looks like Indiana. Well, Indiana played poorly, so I won't use them as an example. Texas A&M is going to beat Missouri. Like, oh, Texas A&M looks like they can beat them. Sure, maybe, but what if the version of Ohio State versus Texas A&M is part 2 of Oregon Ohio State, not part 1, and Ohio State just beats the hell out of Texas A&M? That's the thing is like it's so hard to envision how this team gets beat because even when they lost last year, we saw how they responded to that against the same team.
And it's weird to talk about this team right now because
Ole Miss played the Citadel today. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, which is kind of funny because we're not at SoCon Saturday yet. Typically, that's the week before rivalry week.
SEC's gone soft.
It's weird to talk about this team because like what I don't want to do is like come on here and be like, there are so many problems as Ohio State wins its 8th straight game by 3 touchdowns or more.
But that's what he's doing.
And that's the funny thing. It's like there are issues that I think people are probably like in their heads right now. Oh, I have an issue with this. I have an issue with that. They need to get better at this. They need to get better at that. And they're also just unequivocally, I think right now, the best team in the country. Yeah. It's an interesting dynamic. And like you said, Stefan, like how many teams in recent memory, like certainly I don't want to go back ever, that's a long time, but like in recent memory, how many teams have been able to play like this and still have these results and still come out of this and go, we've got this to fix, we've got that to fix, and yet they're unequivocally it's just an interesting conversation. And I didn't think we would be here even if you thought that this team was really, really good.
I think that conversation is kind of hard to have because we've only been living with these clock rules for 3 years, and we've only been in a situation where the playoff is 3 or 4 games for a second year now. So how many teams could play like this? I mean, nobody played like this, right? You just went full throttle for 14 straight games and tried to win a national title. Ohio State is the first college football team who was actively professional footballing college football, and it won them a national title. And if it wins them another one in a row, I do wonder if we start to see more teams play like this going forward. Because that's what the champion always decides how a sport gets played, right? If you're shooting a bunch of threes and winning championships in basketball, guess what everybody else is going to do? If you're playing 3 clouds in the dust as a football team, guess what everybody else is going to do? If you spread it out and you got a mobile quarterback who can read option, guess what everybody else is going to do? All of a sudden, you started playing with a whole bunch of pro-style quarterbacks and winning championships. Now everybody has to have elite quarterback play. Ohio State, if they go back-to-back, they're going to dictate how the world plays. So I do think Ohio State's, 60.3 points plays per game? I'm wondering if they win back-to-back, if there are teams like in Indiana who's probably averaging 70 plays a game, do you start to see 64? Do you start to see 55? Do you start to see 50? Does game control start to be? I mean, you're already seeing more teams playing a phone booth in terms of 12 personnel and heavy packaging. So that's just what we're going to see here.
Maybe if that Indiana-Penn State game was 10 plays less, does Indiana win? You know, there are certain teams that maybe they don't have the talent to be afforded that luxury.
I think we're also seeing in the NFLification of all this is that you can also lose.
Yeah.
Like Ohio State lost 2 games last year. I think they approached everything perfectly in terms of snap counts and all this snap, but they also lost 2 games.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like another interesting part of this is like Bama looked horrible against Florida State and they lost. I still think they're a title contender. Indiana did not look good against Penn State. I still think they're a contender.
Yeah. It's just, I think what Week 11 did is it put Ohio State on its own tier.
Yeah.
And what we've done is, Ohio State and Texas and Penn State are on the tier. Oh, okay. Indiana might be on that tier. Oh, okay. Miami might be on that tier. Oh, Oregon lost to Indiana, but they probably are still on that tier with them. Oh, wait, no. Now it's just Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. Wait, no, it's Ohio State, Miami, and Indiana. Oh, wait, it's Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M. Oh, wait, Alabama might be on this tier. They just had a weird week 1. No. It's Ohio State on a tier, and then it's a bunch of teams in tier 2 who are fighting to dethrone Ohio State, and that's easier said than done because those teams have to fight to win football games. Ohio State right now does not have to fight to win football games. Is some of that a result of their schedule has not turned out to be what we thought it was going to be 6 months ago? Yes, but they are also just as good. It's the way we talk about the quarterback play here. Yes, Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith are awesome, but it's not just because they're awesome that Julian Sand is good. No. Julian Sand, this was probably the worst game he's played since they've let him loose. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, probably.
And he was 27 of 33 for 303 yards and a touchdown. Probably should have had another touchdown. Probably should have had 2 more touchdowns if he didn't miss Max Clare. And what he said is the timing was off. And then he threw a pick in the end zone because he just got fooled by the coverage. So he still completed 82% of his passes in what might have been his worst game since they've let him loose. Because that's the standard they're dealing at. That was a lot of glorifying the number 1 team in the country, and it was necessary. But there are problems, so let's take a break, and then we'll come back and talk about the offensive line here on Buckeye Talk.
This episode is brought to you by Disney. This Thanksgiving, Judy Hopps and Nick Wilde are back on the big screen. So grab your family and friends as Disney invites you to return to Zootopia for the phenomenal movie event of the holiday season. See all your favorite Zootopia characters plus new favorites in the most pawsome movie of the year. Don't miss Disney Zootopia 2 when it hits theaters everywhere November 26th. Get your tickets now.
I turned off news altogether.
I hate to say it, but I don't trust much of anything.
It's the rage bait.
It feels like it's trying to divide people.
If we got clear facts, maybe we can calm down a little.
NBC News brings you clear reporting. Let's meet at the facts. Let's move forward from there. NBC News, reporting for America.
CRM was supposed to improve customer relationships. Instead, it's shorthand for Customer Rage Machine. Your CRM can't explain why a customer's package took 5 detours? Reboot your inner peace and scream into a pillow. It's okay. On the ServiceNow AI platform, CRM stands for something better. AI agents don't just track issues, they resolve them, transforming the entire customer experience. So breathe in and breathe out. Bad CRM was then. This is ServiceNow.
10 years from today, Lisa Schneider will trade in her office job to become the leader of a pack of dogs. As the owner of her own dog rescue, that is. A second act made possible by the reskilling courses Lisa's taking now with AARP to help make sure her income lives as long as she does. And she can finally run with the big dogs. And the small dogs, who just think they're big dogs. That's why the younger you are, the more you need AARP. Learn more at aarp.org/skills.
And we're back here on Buckeye Talk after Ohio State's 34-10 win over Purdue to improve the 9-0. Get the text 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99. After that, Josh Padilla did not play. He did not even make the trip to Purdue. Ryan Day said they're hoping to get him back next week. And if not next week, for sure, 2 weeks from now, they're expecting to get him back. So because of that, we just saw what we seen all season in terms of left tackle to right guard of Austin Saravel, Luke Montgomery, Carson Hinsman, and Tegra Shabola at right guard. Ian Moore stepped in for Phillip Daniels as the right tackle and got his first snaps. Ryan was pretty complimentary of him, though he wants to obviously go back and review the film. They're not expecting Phillip Daniels to be out for very long. They kind of was trending this way throughout the week that he wasn't going to play, and he ends up not playing. Andrew already told you about the deal with Carnell Tate. That's probably not a big deal. He should probably be back next week. We saw a little bit of Gabe Zansickle. We saw Justin Terry as the tackle eligible. We saw Ethan Inyawa at guard. We saw him at right tackle for a little bit here. What's Ohio State's best five, Stefan?
I can tell you the best four. The thing is this was kind of an untimely week, I guess, for not that there's ever a timely week to be hurt, but like you would have loved to see some Josh Padilla today based on how Tegra Shabola played. I think for Ohio State, it's integral to get Josh Padilla back healthy and also playing at his best in practices because I think they need him. I'm starting to lean toward he's probably part of your five best because I can't imagine it's that much of a step down. At least maybe you can develop something there. Maybe it's kind of a case like Luke Montgomery last year, where it's like he wasn't quite ready. He wasn't quite ready. And then you got to the playoff and he had to play and he was ready. Like, and we're at that point of the season where some of these younger guys who maybe haven't played a ton, maybe behind the scenes they've been developing to someone who's ready. And you would hope that Josh Padilla is ready by now. Now the thing is that we have seen players who are really good start to gain some momentum, and then there's an injury and they struggle a little bit and it's kind of hard to bounce back and it kind of throws off their momentum. So I hope that's not the case for Josh Padilla, right? I hope this isn't kind of like a step back for him just because he's, dealing with an injury right now. Hopefully when he gets back 100%, he's kind of ready to get back into the groove. But if he's unavailable, like you got 2 weeks here where you can start rotating in Gabe Van Sickle some more. And I think you have to, right? There was some highs and lows with Gabe Van Sickle, but you have to go all out when Padilla's healthy. And with Gabe Van Sickle, playing them as much as you can these next 2 weeks because at this point what you got with Tegra Shabola, and it's not great, right? It's inconsistent. Because I don't want to just say he's horrible because we've seen good moments. He was awesome against Penn State. Ryan Day spoke very highly of him for how he played against Penn State. The problem is that the week later he's facing Purdue and it's not at that level.
Yeah.
So you have to have Josh Padilla when he's healthy and Gabe Van Sickle ready to go and Ethan Onwinyawa as well as part of this equation. I think right now your best five is 4 plus whoever proves they're better than Tegra Shabola right now.
Is that a problem, Andrew?
Stone.
The funny thing is, like,
we're gonna be watching David and Goliath when we get back.
Ryan Day gave us the David and Goliath thing where he said no one thought a stone was going to kill Goliath. Like, what if the stone is right guard?
Yeah, it's funny because like I yes, it's a problem, and Steven's brought this up a couple of times on this pod, and it's like yes, it's a problem, but like we just watched maybe the biggest problem of last year's team not matter and then be able to work through it. So I don't think that's a fair comparison. I think yes, it's a problem. I don't know if it's necessarily like a death knell, but I think you're right about the stone. Like I would have Padilla at right guard with your other starters. So that's Saravel, Montgomery, Hinsman, and Daniels at right tackle when Daniels comes back healthy. You've seen enough from Tegra to know what he is at this point. And like there's consistency and inconsistency, if that makes sense. You are pretty sure that he's going to be consistently inconsistent when he walks out on the field. You know what you're going to get, which is why I think we've talked about this rotation with Shabola being hey, is it 40-20? Is it 30-30? Like, if you play 60 snaps a game, how do you do this? 50-50? Like, what's the deal here? So I get it. I understand the worry there. But, like, if Ryan Day's talking about this, like, as, the stone, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, what happens if you get in a playoff game or a game against whoever and
the stone,
and all of a sudden those 20 snaps are really ugly? And, like, we saw this against Wisconsin. They were backed up at their own end, like the 15 to the 20-yard line, and Shabola got beat on like 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2, and they had to punt because of it. And today they were in the red zone, and Julian's looking for time, and he got sacked because Tegra got beat. And those plays today don't matter. Those plays like Wisconsin doesn't matter. But that's one of the things that Ryan Day is talking about when he says, like, everything matters. And I think he said that 5 times at his presser on Tuesday. Everything matters. So, yes, it's an issue. I would go with Padilla more than I would go with Shabola because you know what you're going to get. And it's the opposite of a box of chocolates. Like, you know what you're going to get with that. And, like, I look at this offensive line and I see a group that you don't necessarily need them to be elite. You don't need them to be the greatest offensive line in the country. But I'm wondering what is holding them back, because we saw them send Ethan Nyanwa to the depths of the bench, where we were talking about him in spring and even early in fall camp as like the team's starting left tackle. Now he's not even in consideration as like next up. Ryan Day said the other day, Padilla was the 6th offensive lineman and Gabe Van Sickle's right behind him. So Nyanwa.
No, that's not true. That's not true. It's the hierarchy is right now is Tegra and Josh Padilla are fighting for number 1. Ethan Nyanwa is 3rd, and Gabe Van Sickle's 4th.
So, but I guess my point is they were not afraid to send Nyanwa to the bench when they found somebody better, and they're at other positions they have not been afraid to send people to the bench if they find somebody better, and they have not done that at right guard. I'm curious as to maybe why. And I still think it should happen, but I am not going full 100 miles an hour. This needs to happen tomorrow. It's more like 90, because it's like there's maybe a reason why they have not just said, Josh Padilla, you're the starting right guard, go play.
Yeah, the reason is he's the backup center, and he's probably taking most of his reps in practice at center. That's probably they're adamant that what you're seeing on game day is what they see in practice all week. And what we are consistently seeing, especially the last couple of weeks, is a lot of the issues start at right guard when there's issues today, right? How many times did a play blow up and you're like, oh, Tegra Shabola missed a block? They had a screen pass to James Peoples today where I think it's a touchdown. And Tegra Shabola is the key block.
Big play,
he misses the block. And then so instead of James Peoples maybe getting 10 or 12 yards on it, he gets blown up as soon as he's catching the ball. And I there's almost 2 parts to this. There's the why does this keep happening, which is us watching Ohio State's offense and just watching Tegra Shabola and going, why is this going so poorly? Is it a technique issue? Is it a talent issue? Because even last year, yeah, Gillis, like, there was worries going into the playoff, but that wasn't because we didn't think the guys were good. It's just they've never played football and they're playing high-level snaps. This guy's been a 2-year starter, and it's progressively gotten worse by the game. Why is that happening? What's not clicking? Whether it's a technique, because if it's a technique issue, then the coaching's not getting through. If it's a talent issue and he's just not good enough, okay, you recruit high-level players. Go put the next guy in there. But either way, I don't think 20 games into your career as a starter, you're expecting to see something differently here. And maybe this would have been the final straw had Josh Padilla been healthy, but he hasn't been healthy. And so you go with the guy you trust in and that you've at least seen playing these high leverage snaps, at least especially in games that are on the road in this situation. I do wonder if they were going to get to a point where Josh Padilla was going to take this job, because I'm just
I wonder if he would have today.
Yeah, I think they would have split the snaps evenly.
I wonder if Tegra would have played the second half if he was healthy and playing well.
Probably not. But like you can't. Your other option is Gabe Van Sickle, who's played even less snaps, especially when Phillip Daniels is already out. You want to mitigate how much new you have on the field there. I was down 15-10, and they have the ball and they're going. You guys know this.
My jaw didn't hit the floor because Iowa is going to maybe win this game. My jaw hit the floor because Iowa just completed a pass like 40 yards like through the air.
That might be the longest pass they've had in the last 6 years.
It is funny that we're like, hey, Ohio State's got it's just like Ohio State's got, and look, the standard is the standard. Ohio State's got a problem at right guard. It's like Iowa completed a forward pass. Oh my God.
Yeah, but I just feel like Julian Sands having to solve a lot of problems because of the right guard situation. Yeah. His movement in the pocket is great, but it's a lot of times where I got to move off my spot.
You would prefer not to have him not do that.
Not on every play. Like, if you get beat every so often, okay, that kind of happens. That's football. Austin Saraville got beat last week. I don't think we're thinking about Austin Saraville differently because Denai Dennis Sutton beat him last week and Julian Sand had to go make a play. That's this ball. But when it feels like it's so consistent and you're constantly pointing to the same person, I think that's an issue. And they got to address that issue. And it's reached the point where you got to ask, why haven't you made the personnel change? And the way that Ryan Day got asked the question and the way he answered the question, he seems to be acknowledging that at this point. And you got 2 games left before you head to Ann Arbor. You got to make the personnel change. You got to make it at this point.
Someone said it in the press box. I can't remember who it was, but it's like, if you don't have someone lined up and going at Tigers Bowl, like, you're mismanaging your defense.
Yeah, we were talking about that while we were waiting on Day, and that just slipped my mind. That's a problem if someone has to challenge. And I don't, obviously, we're just trying to get into the minds of things. But if it feels like Tegra's at his best when he feels he's being challenged, and if he's not being challenged and he's not playing well, that's not a good thing because that's external motivation. Yeah. That's not a good thing because even last year, the challenge was all of a sudden he's rotating at his spot in the college football playoff, and it's great to have competition, but like, this is your job, and you've had it for 2 years. You shouldn't need the threat of somebody else to do that. We don't even know but we're just thinking of theories.
Like, if you're Wink Martindale, like, you're sitting there being like, every single snap, someone is going to go at right guard.
Yes.
Like, go after the right guard.
Yes.
Whatever that looks like. And it's that's a big deal. Like, it affects your running game. It affects Julian Sand in the pocket. It's a stone. It's a stone.
And if we're looking for ways Ohio State loses a football game,
it's the most obvious one.
I think it might be the only one that's in Ohio State's control. Right. Obviously, sometimes you just lose football game. But in terms of we're writing, why did Ohio State not win a national championship? I think that's the only reason that is on Ohio State for why they don't win a national title. And you got to fix that issue. Let's end with something positive. Jaden Fielding, career long, 49-yarder. That's a confidence builder.
Yeah. On grass, outside too.
In the wind?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I still think they should throw the Hail Mary. I'm totally joking. They shouldn't throw the Hail Mary. They should do. I liked how Ryan Day also talked about it, Andrew. It was like, we're setting this up. Mm-hmm. Everybody understood what the concept was here. They were getting out of bounds. Yeah. I think that is there was no issues with the offensive.
Was maybe the first time this year Ohio State has genuinely done the 2-minute drill and done it to perfection.
Clean operation.
The C.J. Donaldson fumble before halftime against Penn State was supposed to be. It was supposed to set up what they did against Purdue.
Yeah, so it's good. It's good to be able to check off data points, and I felt like today was a lot of checking off data points, good and bad.
Yeah.
The good
Lincoln Keno's package. That was really good play.
Great play.
Lincoln Keno's put his shoulder down and barrel over it, dude.
Do we think we see it again?
Double package. I'll double down. I'll say no. Maybe that felt like that situation was like 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 at the goal line. That didn't feel like we're gonna run this against Purdue. That felt like when we get in that situation, we're gonna.
I think
he got in that situation.
I don't think I would be shocked if he had a rushing touchdown against Michigan.
In the snow?
Yeah.
I mean, like, look,
gotta be in the snow.
That could be a counter to if you are shaky about your offensive line. One of the things that could help with that is changing the math and adding another runner because Julian ain't going to run the ball.
Yeah, he will.
You're going to run the ball QB power with Julian Sand.
They've been running QB sneaks with him.
And QB power, though, there's a difference between like taking it out.
No. They did. So he will keep it.
Yeah, sure. He's
done a great job. I'm going to mark this down. Here's my bold prediction. Lincoln Keno's is going to throw a touchdown pass against Michigan.
I'm going to see that.
Because I thought they were going to throw it when they did it today because that's Ryan Day said that the first time we saw it is the benefit of that is they also trust Lincoln Keno to throw it. And if he's just going to run it, then it's predictable. But if you've shown it twice and every single time he runs it and all of a sudden Michigan keys in on him running it and then because JJ was on the field both times they've done it and then JJ's got a goal line fade. Bold prediction.
There has to be something like that against Michigan, right? Because it felt like they randomly had Justin Terry line up as eligible today.
Yeah.
They ran these Nate Roberts plays where it seems like they do the same thing every time. What if one of those is, I know they added the wrinkle of handing it off to Roberts, and that's over 2 now, I think. But what if on one of those it's play action, like Nate Roberts leaks out and catches a touchdown? What if the Lincoln Keno's package, there's a pass? Like, they've at least put themselves, obviously, the ideal way to beat Michigan is Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and Bo Jackson, and Julian Sand. They do what they do.
Yeah.
But if it's a tight game and things are weird and
you got to reach into your pocket to grab
4th and 1, you're on the goal line and boom, all of a sudden Terry's leaking open or you say, all right, we're putting Terry in the game. He has to put on the number 98 jersey. And then a couple drives later, okay, 98's back out there eligible. Is that Kaden McDonald? That Kaden McDonald lining up at tight end? Did Kaden McDonald just catch a touchdown against Michigan? I should have asked him about that post game. What did you think when Terry wore 98? Are you thinking to yourself like they're going to line up something for me?
That's going on the NFL draft highlight reel.
I just think it feels like every year Michigan has a play where it's like they spent 364 days working on that just for Ohio State. And Ohio State doesn't have those plays. And they're not trick plays. They're just, this is for Michigan.
It's a new wrinkle to something that you've run before.
Yes. And when the other side's doing it, I think it's Ohio State needs that. And that's what we're talking about now. What's the Michigan play? And it seems like they're already building on it right now. What does it look like when they get against Michigan in Ann Arbor on November 29th? That'll do it, though. That's all I got.
That's all I got. I think we're going to get kicked out of here soon, actually. So.
That's fine. I'm hungry. 614-350-3315. 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. Ohio State 34, Purdue 10. They're back at home for the next 2 weeks to play UCLA and Rutgers before they head up to Michigan for the final regular season game of the year. So for Stefan Krajisnik and Andrew Gillis, I'm Stephen Means. Talk to you guys later.
If we knew more about our sleep, what would we do differently? Would we go to bed at a consistent time or take steps to reduce interruptions to our sleep? With the all-new Sleep Score, Apple Watch measures your bedtime consistency, interruptions, and sleep duration. Then, every morning it combines these factors into an easy-to-understand score from 1 to 100. So you'll know how to take the quality of your sleep from good to excellent. Introducing the new Sleep Score on Apple Watch. iPhone 11 or later required.